Hey, what is going on YouTube? Mike here for Phandroid, and we have had the Pixel 7a for a while now. Of course, it is one of the newest devices from Google, which was recently announced at Google I/O for this year. Now, in a day and age where we're getting a very crowded mid-range smartphone market, we get to ask what the Pixel 7a has to offer when it comes to facing off against the competition, and what consumers can expect from a smartphone with this kind of spec sheet and price range. So join us and we're going to take a quick look at the Pixel 7a, and here's our review. Right, so first off, let's talk about that design that we've seen on the Pixel 7a, which takes a lot of inspiration from the likes of the Pixel 7 series. Google has pretty much designed the A series phones to mimic some of the visual elements that we see on the more expensive premium handsets from Google. And the Pixel 7a is no different. Of course, it does feature a design that looks a lot like the Pixel 7 itself, especially with the metal camera bar and the disappearance of the two-tone color design, which may or may not be to your liking. Now, this does result in a premium look and feel, and the phone does come with IP67 rating for dust and water resistance, although we do have to take note of the plastic back, which might not appeal to everyone, especially if you're used to more premium smartphones with glass constructions, and the slightly thicker bezels, which are a bit thicker than what we get on the Pixel 7 and even on the Pixel 6a. Of course, these are minor design gripes, and for myself, when handling the Pixel 7a, it does feel a lot like the Pixel 7. Of course, with the exception of the plastic back, this is entirely a subjective issue. Overall, it's a solid looking phone. Now moving over to the phone's display, the 90Hz refresh rate is a big improvement compared to what we saw on the Pixel 6a, and we all remember that when Google launched that phone, a lot of people were clamoring for a higher refresh rate, but this new 90Hz refresh rate does bring a more smooth experience in terms of UI navigation, and yeah, comparing it to the Pixel 6a, it is definitely a worthy improvement. One caveat though is the poor outdoor visibility, which does tend to be a disadvantage, especially on particularly bright and sunny days. And even at max brightness, I had a bit of trouble looking at the display under direct sunlight. Now, this display is protected by Gorilla Glass 3, so no 5 or 6 or Victus here. And yeah, on its own is pretty sturdy, but I would recommend getting a screen protector for this phone, as Gorilla Glass 3 is still prone to scratches. Alright, so the Pixel 7a does come with a couple of speakers located along the top and bottom of the display, and while they are sufficiently loud, they do lack a significant bass sound, especially when compared to more premium handsets. Check out this sample. Of course, we now get face unlock as we do on the Pixel 7, and yeah, this is another improvement that we saw come to the A series with the Pixel 7a. Now, in terms of biometrics, in addition to face unlock, we also get the in-display fingerprint scanner, which unfortunately doesn't seem like much of an improvement of the fingerprint scanner on the Pixel 6, the Pixel 6a, and the Pixel 7. Now, there are times when I do get the phone to read my fingerprints without any issues, but there are still times when I have to repeatedly press on the screen to get the phone to read my fingerprint properly. In addition to the external design of the phone, we do get some pretty significant upgrades with regards to what the device is capable of in terms of overall performance, and this is due to the newer Tensor G2 chip, which we saw debut on the Pixel 7 series. Now, of course, if you're coming from an older Pixel model, or even a Pixel 6a, the Tensor G2 might not be that much of an improvement, but of course it does offer a slight bump in performance speeds and overall user experience. Now, this is aided by 8GB of RAM, which again is another improvement over the 6GB that we got on the Pixel 6a. So yeah, it brings it one step closer to the Pixel 7, and it almost blurs the line with regards to the differences between the Pixel 7a and the Pixel 7 itself. Now, with that said, one issue that I still find to be a bit of a problem on this phone is the heating issue. Now, Google has addressed this heating issue with an update for the Pixel series phones, but so far I've still experienced a bit of heating on my Pixel 7a. It doesn't get quite as hot as on the Pixel 7, which I did use before. It's still considerably warm, but of course this is going to depend on your individual usage. The kinds of apps and services that you use is something to keep in mind though. It should also be said that battery performance isn't anything to write home about. Now, we do get a moderately sized 4385 mAh battery. So far I've gotten decent endurance, but at most I get around maybe 3 to 4 hours of screen on time. Now I'm still waiting to see if this changes in the future with software updates or as the phone learns to better adapt to my usage. This moment in time, I still have some reservations about the battery on the Pixel 7a. One issue with the battery is that it still charges slowly, which isn't much of an improvement over the 6a. Now in comparison, the Pixel 7 does charge faster than the 7a, but of course given that it is a flagship phone, this is pretty much to be expected. You're gonna have to be patient with the battery and the charging on the Pixel 7a, especially with the wireless charging. You're not gonna get blazing fast charging speeds here like what you get on the Chinese brands like Xiaomi or Oppo or Vivo. This is one aspect where the 7a definitely falls short. Moving on though, one big strength of the Pixel 7a is the camera performance. Now Google has gone all out with the 7a this year, and we now get a bigger 64 megapixel main sensor on the rear camera setup on the phone. Now this outsizes the 12 megapixel sensors that we got on the Pixel 6a, the 5a, the 4a, and a lot of older Pixel models. So yeah, this is a definite victory if you're looking for better resolution and an overall hardware improvement on your Pixel phone. Of course, this larger resolution means that you can capture more details on your smartphone, and the phone does come with support for newer photo software from Google like Photo and Blur, and the usual suite of other camera features like Real Tone, Portrait Mode, Night Sight. And we also get a larger resolution with the front camera, as it now comes with a 13 megapixel sensor. Now in terms of video, the 64 megapixel resolution does add some improvements. You can shoot at a maximum of 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. Overall, video does look good, especially in good daylight conditions. Although, as with a lot of other Pixel phones, low light video is still a challenge. It's not going to be like Night Sight with still photography in your Pixel, where computational photography can improve it a lot. Video is something that the Pixel still needs to work on, especially in low light situations. Overall, if you are after a solid point-and-shoot smartphone that can go head-to-head with a lot of more expensive devices, then the 7a is definitely something to consider. Alright, so moving on to price, the Pixel 7a comes in at around $500. Now this is a pretty significant step up from the price that we saw in older A series models, which came in at maybe $450 or $350. But yeah, considering that the Pixel 7a is essentially 95% of what the Pixel 7 is, this price is justified with the big hardware upgrades, and the camera performance still outclasses a lot of what the competition, especially from overseas brands, are doing. Again, we go back to the hardware improvements like the improved display, cameras, the newer chipset, and the increase in RAM. But if you really must have a cheap phone, sure, get the Pixel 6a. Google still sells it on their store, but you will lose out on improvements to performance and hardware. On its own, the 7a is a terrific Pixel phone. It's not a perfect smartphone, but for the features it offers, it can definitely hold its own against similarly priced devices. Let us know what you guys think about the Pixel 7a. Do check out our other content here on Phandroid. Thanks all for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next one.